going on, my friends? I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And hey, we're going to go. And before I get ready to send Fred Dodge, uh, Star Ranger, and his associate into this small pirate haven that I discovered on Fairwind during the exploration phase of the planet, I thought, hey, I better have a little bit more information on that planet, the place. This is just a straight hex map. This shows you how old I am. This is a photocopy from a book that I have that I bought in 87 or 88. So I love the hexes. I understood why the mechanics on some game systems like AD&D went to the square box. I have never been a fan of those. I really think the hexes give facing and frontings in a better way. That's just my personal opinion. It's just what it is. So anyway, the initial roll was a Pirate Haven found. It has 1d10 Tech 0 builds, 1d10 prefabs, and 1d10 times 10 residents. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to establish those numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and get two D10s out of my little box here. And we were going to just go and roll the red one for the first one, and that'd be an 8, and the other one for, oh great, so 8 and 8. So we're going to actually have 8 tech zeros and 8 prefabs, and then it has a 1d10 times 10 residents. Potentially up to 100 people are here, so we're just going to roll a d10, and it's 3, so 3 times 10 is 30, so this means there are 30 permanent residents that on site. And I want to determine exactly what we have here, and so I have 8 prefabs or Tech 0. Tech 0 is, by my game vernacular, what would be the equivalent of 19th century construction. Potentially you could have foundries, you could have factories, but they would be tiny. These are going to be something somebody built in a shop, they built in their backyard, a small farm, that kind of thing, a craft shop. It's not going to be a full-on factory. And Tech 1 or Tech negative, a negative 1 technology would be something equivalent to 1950s technology, and so on and so on. And that goes down by epochs. So, I've actually got Bronze Age and Stone Age and things like this. So we know that there are 8 of these things, and I'm going to go to the blueprint guidebook to find out an idea of what kind of Tech 0 builds are available. Low-tech operations are small, subsistent craft shops and farms. These operations, while not as efficient as a proper build at higher tech, they do have their advantages. Power is provided by some means, usually chemical generators, wind or water power, or even truly primitive world's stingy power. While they do not require the space on the build queue, they do not require construction ship operation. They do require, this is talking about how if you want to build your own. So technically, you can build Tech 0 stuff. You just need the resources and the people to staff them. And if you want to do that much tiny little things, hey, knock yourself out. It's one way of building your colony. I find them useful for mostly event-based things, and I purposely, the only time I personally would go out of my way to build a Tech 0 operation is if it's a very crude outpost kind of thing, and I just want to produce some kind of, they want to exploit something on a small scale, or to produce, like, I don't know, food or water or something on a tiny scale to help support an outpost someplace. So the list is pretty short. It's a D10 list, and so I'll get my dice and we'll roll for the first one, and it is a 9, and 9 is a mining operation. So we have a Tech T0 mine. It tells me what the build needs are, the cost, materials, and needs. Okay, so it's supposed to have 30 workers, so that doesn't going to work for this. So I may not be operational. Maybe it's played out. Maybe something else is going on. I don't know, but I know that I have 30 residents, so technically this can't be operating. So we're going to roll again, and I get a 6. 6 is a craft shop. and we haven't determined exactly what kind of craft shop it is, and that would probably be something I would want to do under an investigation role. Let's see, workers also prefer 30. And the next one is a 1. It's a dirt farm. Dirt farm produces 1 ton of food production per cycle, needs 4 workers, 4. And number 4 is also a craft shop. I suppose that technically speaking, these could be very, very crude in the aspect that they do not have enough people to fully get their material option or what they're available to do. I don't know. I have to explore that down the road. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Number 2 would be another dirt farmer. Dirt farm. Six, and I might need to go back and check that roll on that exploration, because was it D100 or D10? No, it's 1D10 times 10 residents. So I do have that part right. So B6 is 7, which is also a craft shop, some kind of shop. Now I can make the argument, because I can make the decision. A craft shop could also potentially be, I don't know, somebody weaving baskets, some guy making leather shoes or leather pouches, and define that they could do a lot more, but with more people, but they don't have them. Now that my house is on the planet, I have a surplus of labor, then potentially I could relocate some of the people here to enhance all this stuff and to make use of it for the game perspective for my house. So here's our Tech 0 number 7, and it's a 4 dirt farm. So already I've got 3 dirt farms. That's an additional 3 tons of food production each cycle, and I have the option, being this my planet and I control the planet, I can tap all this stuff, I can fill in the blanks and exploit the production and needs by adding it to my exchange. And it's something I may very well do, because like I said, my exchange is hurting right now numbers wise. It really needs to get some stuff going up. So I got 1 left over, and it's a 3, so it's another dirt farm. Now this brings us to the tech. It's just 8 prefabs. Now it didn't specify Tech 1 only prefabs. So it also talks in this section here. Okay, so building Tech 0 builds, Tech 0 housing, i.e. slapdashes. A single house, quote, house could hold a family of 4, while more complex or larger slapdashes could be built to hold considerably more. Typical resident takes 1 cycle to build for 4 thingies if it's meant to be a house. Basic needs for 4 floob model is this here, perf, etc. So in theory, each one of these dirt farms would have its own residence. Right, so they've already got themselves a house. So the rest of these would require some place for the people to live. And when I roll the prefabs, if I don't get a housing prefab, then that means that the existing 30 residents are living in slapdashes or huts or crudely made homes. By definition, anything like I said, 1950 or older would be considered a slapdash by modern standards and higher tech standards, right? So, and then we talk about primitive housing, and then some other stuff in here too when it comes to that sort of thing, but it's not pertinent to what we're doing right now. And then I go on to my other book, the core book, to get the prefabs. Now this prefab chart here that I'm looking at right here is what we use for when ship cargoes come in. it's very possible that a ship will eventually land on the planet and it will have, quote, special cargo. And among the cargo roles could be prefabs that they're willing to sell to the house. And this is one of those things how we get additional stuff. Of course, this is conducive to us having the finances to pay for it. If our house is running in negative, we may not. And if it's something we think we could really need to have, at that point the house may need to negotiate, take one of its house ministers to negotiate with one of its house platinums to make that decision whether we can get the platinum to pay for it or not. And if the platinum's has a means to do it. And I have a set of rules for doing that. Of course I do. So I'm just going to put down prefabs because there's no specification on the tech level, so there could be multiple tech levels or higher level items here, because once again, it's a pirate haven. They stole this stuff. They acquired it. It fell off the back of a freighter somehow in deep space. So I'm going to need my D100, and we're going to have to roll for 8 of these things. So let's see what we roll up. 30. It's a housing fab. So now I've already established part of my housing problem. So Tech 1, housing. 2 is 61. A fishing trawler. That's neat. Which is also Tech 1. 30. 95. A wave generator, which is Tech 3. And that's exactly what it sounds like. This is a device that provides power for our little haven, which by default means that then the haven's going to be placed on the edge, on the coast of one of these water bodies, and that would justify both the trawler, which is a fishing vessel, which produces more food, and I think it also produces carbon. And then of course the wave generator, which provides power for this operation. So 50, and 50 is another housing. This is a Tech 2. So now I have sufficient housing for the 30 odd people that are here, potentially a few more. So there may have been more people here and they've left, or this is once again is a pirate haven, so it's possible that pirate crews that come in spend time here for downtime and they go find jobs working in the community. Not likely, but it's possible. All right. So 12. A storage facility, which makes perfectly good sense too. We want some place to store our equipment, our stuff, our surpluses. This is good. This is a Tech 4, so it's pretty good size. And another one of those things that will need explanation up the road. Our 6 would be 70, 79. 79 is an armored bunker. Well, this must be the headquarters of the defense for whoever is running the place. Seven. 53. A second storage facility. Storage fab. That leaves us with one more. 8. And 84. An armored redoubt. Tech 2. Think of a armored hideout or something like that. It's basically another defensive build that you can acquire and help beef up your bases and protect vital locations, things like this. I'm not going to go into detail on it at the moment because I don't need to. Armored redoubt. All right, so we now know what's here, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that kind of stuff. we know that we're going to need to have this thing on the coast, so I'm just going to choose to put it here. Not too off. Like I said, I want it within 10 days travel from the capital anyway, so my our armored our ranger can get to it. So we're going to say there's a coast. I'm just doing a crude one. So maybe with a crude dock or little wharf or something that our trawler can hook up to. And then we're going to have, you know, our wave generator providing power to the colony, or to the outpost, haven, what have you. And we'll just have a housing prefab here, H1, and then we'll put a bigger one over here. H2, and this is just a starter map, so it's quite possible I'll make a little better map at some point. It's not might, I will, because I expect to do some things here off and on. Also, basic infrastructure. They're going to have an infrastructure of IFR of Tech 1, and I'm going to say it's we'll just give it a D10, so it's 4%. Means there's roads and things like that. You know, like I said, I'm doing a kind of crappy job. I'll do a better job when I get to it. So we're going to have housing fab, fishing trawler, and since it's a haven, it's a pirate haven. I'm going to go ahead and designate an area over here as a crude landing field for ships, which then means I can have this. Let's see, we have a 1 and 2, housing fab 2, wave generator over here, story fab. So we need a 1 storage fab here, storage 2, I put an armored bunker here. Storage fab, the larger storage fab, we'll put it over here. And then armored redoubt. I think we'll go ahead and put the armored redoubt. Let's just put it over here, and it is a Tech 2. So and then we have a mining operation. So we'll just designate this area Tech 0 operation, craft shop. We'll go ahead and put Tech 0 craft shop here, and we'll designate Tech 0 farm 1, and we'll do another one next to it. That second craft shop, so we'll go ahead and put another craft shop here. And we'll go ahead and let's stick another farming operation right here. Let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And I got craft shop 1, craft shop 2, 1, 2, so I need 2 more. 2, 1, 2, I got 3 craft shops, so let's put this other road up this, crude road up this way, crude road up this way. So or take 0, right? And then we'll just put this other farm out over here somewhere. So that's basically how we set up the colony, or this haven, and I got myself a crude map. I grant you, I know it's crude, but I got it all figured out and set up. So now what we got, we know. We don't have to go into the mechanics details today because, you know, really at the end of the day, you guys don't care about that. But it's self-sustaining to a point. We know we have a fuel wave generator provides power to the facility, to the little haven. We know there's at least 30 permanent residents, so there's potentially transient population here too, and then there's enough housing for the 30 people, because I would have to go into, I want to say, the equipment guide, because I think, because since prefabs are technically equipment, it qualifies under gear of sorts. So let's see if I can find it. Spend half the video staring, trying to chase it down. Prefab, personal garden. Prefabs. Now there's prefab planetary bunkers and field fortifications. That's probably not what I want. They might be in that same category area. There's armor, prefab defense. Okay, so that information on that bunker and that readout would be on those pages there. Let's check equipment. Like tanks, Ornites, atmospheric cargo haulers, lifters, shuttles, combat medical care. Kind of looking for miscellaneous or something to be my guess. Come on. Hub units, agri systems. Considering this planet has a breathable atmosphere and is conducive being a grassland to agriculture, then I don't have to worry about that sort of stuff, because otherwise they might have had to have a agripod or agri prefab of some kind. So here's the prefabs, here's the fishing trawler. So our fishing trawler 1 requires workers 8 and 2 Tech 1 technicians, has a general speed, produces 9 tons of food and 4 tons of organics every cycle, which is quite impressive. And then it needs 0.5 tons of chemical fuel to run, so on and so forth. So these are things you can purchase to augment your production on your planet. So if the opportunity comes up for me to buy something of these natures, and I don't want to go out of my way to hunt them down, but and there's ways to go do that. See, industrial site desalination plant, heavy infrastructure bills, touring, mining systems, mining pod, crawlers, mining nights, mining prefabs. But see, this is a Tech 0 mining operation, so it doesn't qualify as a prefab. Mining bots, construction, prefabs, wave generators. So our one Tech, and I don't know if it was Tech 2 or what. Let's just say it's Tech 1. Tech 1 wave generator, in theory, requires 2 technicians to operate. It can support 2 full builds, or 20 sub builds, or 200 fabs. So potentially this thing is sufficient and then some, overpowering and more than sufficient. They're only using probably 3%, 2% of its capacity, which is great for me, for the house, because I can really expand on that stuff. I can choose to turn this haven into much bigger. I can turn it into a much bigger town if I chose to. Education prehabs. Oh, for Pete's sake, everything but what I want. Like I said, it's turning into a thing. It's starting to annoy me. I know they're here. Housing construction, fabrication. Dirty. That's, I just looked at that, but those are constructing things and construction packages, not housing. Construction bots, housing construction fabricators. Yeah. Oh, for Pete's sake. I don't know what's going on. Is it in the equipment or in the blueprint line? Becoming a thing. I'm going to become obsessed with this. I know they're here. I know the damn well they're here. Oh, housing stuff, but no damn prefabs. Oh, for Christ's sake. Housing complex 1. Housing districts, housing domes, skyrakers, ecologies, platinums estates, storage facilities. No, these are not prefabs. Forward builds, trade routes, regional holo networks. So I know it's not in that one. It's got to be in here. Gosh. Personal gear, robots, housing, necessitated craft, overnights, specialized combat, general and prefabricated structures. A-hole. Did it actually get left out? That ain't right. I know they're here somewhere. Let's go look at the channel. Turn to the channel and see. Let's see, channel page 20. Yeah, see, there's the. Alright, never mind. General prefabricated. So, yeah, it's general. Instead of saying housing, I got it listed here as general prefabricated. Drive myself crazy crap. Okay, general housing, low grade housing, Tech 1, housing for up to 50 thingies. So, this housing unit here, this prefab can hold 50 residents. And the Tech 2 version can hold 100 thingies. And so it talks about this thing. So we look at the low-grade housing or the general prefabricated structures. A Tech 1 housing prefab has 1 point of defense, has no damage reduction, will hold has housing for 50 thingies, is only 1 story high. It weighs 5 tons if you were to collapse it. That's the thing about prefabs. Prefabrications are designed to be put up and take back down. So when you take them down and to store them, obviously everybody in them can't be in them, or that would kill them. And then you could just pack it up in a starship and haul them off somewhere else and reuse them over and over and over again. Kind of the whole point of it. They're talking about general upkeep and needs of prefabs, so on and so forth. And it gives a base. Typically, housing applies small apartments for families of I plus a common area. Commercial fabs are like a small strip mall with offices, small stores, and storage fabs are self-explanatory. So it goes down the capacity. So when we look at our Tech 1 and Tech 2 storage facility prefabs, low grade Tech 1 has 100 tons of capacity, and the Tech 2 has 150. So total that they can have 250 tons of storage. That means they could this food that they produce, they can store it as a surplus. That way, when their buddies show up and their ships, their pirate buddies or smugglers and stuff show up, they can sell that food to the people that are there. Now, we take a brief. This goes down a little bit of the rabbit hole. So if I look at this Tech Zero mining operation, Tech Zero mining operations produce a very small amount of material. We're talking like a tenth. So instead of rolling a D10 like you would on a man, you're only going to get a fixed amount. So if I picked, and I know what the resources are on the planet in general, this thing could be producing 0.1 ton of water every turn. I mean, because you can mine water. I know it sounds redundant, but you can. The idea being is you're providing water. Perhaps it's mining water to provide water resources to the colony, which would be very tiny. Its direct amount would not be a lot, but you would accumulate in a warehouse that allow it to provide water and food to incoming ships. Now, what they don't have is the means to produce hydrogen fuel, so they don't have a fuel. They can't sell fuel. They can't produce their chemical, their chemical fuel either to run the trawlers. Although I can make that caveat because I have 3 different craft shops. Potentially, one of these craft shops could be a tiny, compact crude refinery using distilling technology to create a chemical-based fuel source. I don't know, local alcohol, for example, that can be burnt in the trawler to keep the trawler operating, which also would give them another product in order to sell. Anyway, so now I have fleshed out this little place a little more. I got some more working knowledge on what's going on here, and when I get ready to actually investigate it with Fred Dodge, planetary ranger, then I have some working stuff to work from, and then his job will be to ascertain potentially who's leading the place. Are they affiliated with a known pirate group, or is it just a typical haven that's open to anybody and anything? 3, perhaps exactly what these craft shops and craft mining operation produces. Is there some defense force? Keeping in mind that if I've only got 30 residents, based on a ratio for our military militia and things like this for the house, the odds are really good that at best there's 1 individual that might be the local peacekeeper. They're not going to have unless there's an active pirate boss here, and that could change things. So my negotiation could actually up the number of people that are here because technically they may not be considered full-time residents. They might be considered transients. So if there's a pirate boss who's living on the planet and he has a staff, he's bringing people in, swapping people in and out from a ship or 2 that maybe he has possession of. You see how we can go, this thing can just expand and keep building and go into different directions with it. Anyway, so this is what we're talking about on this. Till next time, I'm Rick and you're not. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in the gaming industry.